Good morning. I have a quick update to our school improvement folders and the work that you're going to be doing at your work days at the ISD. Appreciate the high school working through some of these things with me as we start both a new process and at the same time have some changes that the ISD is suggesting as a facilitate school improvement. So when we go back into our school improvement folder, I want to look at the data and data analysis and reflection so I can be more specific about what it is that I want from you. In each folder, there is one data analysis and reflection form. But if you see over in the main folder, I have one for social studies, for science, for math, for ELA, and then I have the form without being identified. So I'm just going to go into the social studies form. And truly, what you're collecting in this information, and you can see high school social studies started this, so you can make a clean copy for yourself. You are looking specifically at the data for social studies in your building. We should be looking at least 2 years of data. And while we have a choice of what we can look at for consistency's sake, I want us looking at MSTEP for this. In the future, we can decide if we also want to include NWEA for the ELA and math targeted. One of the things that is very different is we are transitioning away from a percentage of students that need to be proficient. So I believe most of our school improvement plans actually say for each of the four core content areas that 80% of the students will be proficient in social studies. They are moving away from that with the new ESSA rules, and also because we have had MSTEP and SAT in place long enough that there can be some growth comparisons and some projections. So they really want you to look at those as SMART goals. And in order to do that, we need to look at our successes and challenges, specifically in percentages and growth. So if you look at the first example here, the test data, literacy was solid. They were looking at not implementing strategies. However, there was a 3% growth from 36% for the last 2 years to 39% from last year. So that is a specific growth, that is a success that's identified. The reason that that's important is because you're going to make a goal this year for social studies that is not 80% of the students will be proficient. We need to look at a SMART goal of the growth that we're going to expect. So you should look at the last 2 years' growth and make sure that the percentage is at least 1% more than that. And you need to consider any instructional strategies that you have put in place or that you plan to put in place for next year that potentially could mean more growth than we've experienced in the past. So I'm trying to give a little more direction on how you will be putting together this year's plan, but also have you better prepared as you do this data analysis and reflection. So the challenges that were identified, updated standards from the state, implementing new technology in a meaningful way, and then specific targets. So at the high school, they were looking at our gap with our African American students. So again, I want you to see that they're specifically using numbers, not just that there is a gap, but that our African American students are only 16% proficient, while the rest of the district is 39% proficient. So that's a target we need to identify of what we're going to do. And then a strategy that's been identified, specifically the social studies at the high school, is using document-based questions that helps them with reading strategies, analysis of primary source documents, and also leads to written responses where they are required to do a rhetorical analysis of informational reading. So it aligns well to the Common Core literacy standards, and it also is how they're being assessed on the SAT in both social studies and in the SAT essay. So this is a great example of what I'm looking for, that it contains exactly specific data, but we also are then identifying specific strategies that we're going to use to try and address either the gap. This is just a beginning. This is not all the work they will do. But that's a great example that they've created. If you then go into your folder, there is a reflection form. Make a copy for each one of the content areas. and then use the data analysis reflection form. I will put one in here for the district because I believe that one got hijacked. You actually can use these right here. Again, the social studies, we need to identify building, and then the strategy. So you can add to this. So when we get to Kennedy Middle School, you could put Kennedy and identify the successes, Kennedy, identify the challenges. And this way we'll have an overall look at the district in social studies, see the trends, and it will help us develop what our targets are and what we address from the district level. Thank you very much. I apologize that I did not give a lot of detail on this the first time through. I will be with you guys at least in the afternoons on the work days, and feel free to email or call in the meantime as you are working through. Thank you.